Hello, mic testing. Hello. Okay. Hi Divya. Okay, I hope the audio is audible in both sides. Hello, hi Grace. Fine. Okay, so welcome back to one more stream, and this stream is a new series, brand new series where we'll be creating a Spring Boot plus React.js project. If you're on the full screen thing, you can already see this is the plan we have. Okay, so we will be creating a Spring Boot and a React.js project for making a to-do kind of app, a task tracker app, and then we'll be containerizing it and deploying it on cloud, right, on Google Cloud. So that's the plan. Okay, so we have been doing series of videos. You can, for those who are new to the channel, you can go to oops, let me search it here. So go to Fastorial. Okay, not Factorial, Fastorial, and you can see the playlists. Okay, so if you see here, there are two playlists already. There is a multi-threading playlist and there's a streams playlist. Complete end-to-end project. Yes, this will be a complete end-to-end project. Okay, so we already did complete learning of multi-threading and Java streams. So this time we are going to look into a Spring Boot plus React.js project. Okay, so this is kind of the first video in this whole series. Okay, so we'll be building like a full-on application. Okay, so that's the goal of this project. So let me first of all show how the project will look like. Okay, so you guys might have seen the Microsoft To-Do application. If you haven't, so this is how it looks like. And this we are trying to build something like this. Okay, so you can add something like, let's say, complete Spring Boot. Okay, you can add a task and then set a time to it. I can say like by tomorrow finish it, and then if I click add, okay, the task gets added. Let me zoom out a bit. So you see here a task gets added with the due date as tomorrow, and then you can set priority and things like that. So once you add it, you can update it. If I click on the task, I can edit it again like Spring Boot course. I can change the name of the task, or I can mark the task as done by clicking here on the tick button, or undone again. And if I want to delete it also, I can click on the info button, and down here there's a delete button. You can click that and delete the task also, right? So these are the basic operations you can do with the tasks. This is kind of a personal reminder for a to-do kind of application. So that is what we are trying to implement here. And the whole thing here is that we will be not only just developing it locally, we'll also see how we can deploy this application on the cloud, on Google Cloud. We'll deploy it on the Google Cloud, and the front end will deploy it on GitHub pages. Okay, so that login I haven't planned, but maybe we can try that with Spring Security. We can try login also. For otherwise, it's just we are trying to keep it as simple as possible, because maybe we'll plan again for maybe a microservices kind of application where we can do all of that as well. Doing Spring Security and what is it, service discovery and all of that. Okay, so if you see here, I have split this. This is the GitHub link where you can get the project details. I have added it to the video description. You can get it there. Also, those who are watching it in the vertical mode, right, in the YouTube short kind of thing, you can watch the full video also. So there is a full screen video. I have pinned it in the comment of live chat. You can go there. Okay, so so this is the milestones that I have planned. These are not like parts per se. So it's not like in first video we'll finish all of this. Maybe it takes like 2 or 3 videos to finish this first milestone and then the second milestone, because I'll go through the milestones once. So the first milestone is where we are going to create the backend project setup, the Spring Boot project setup. We'll be scaffolding it, creating entity design, and database connection. Okay, so we'll see in detail what these are. I'm just giving a high overview. Then in the second milestone, we'll do REST endpoint creation and testing. Okay, so we'll be creating the necessary APIs required. And in third one, we'll create global error handling and validation, right? So if nothing should go wrong, even if something goes wrong, we should validate and handle it properly. So that kind of things will be done in the third one. And then in the fourth milestone, we'll scaffold a front end project like a React.js project. Okay, and we will use probably the Entity framework for UI components. So that's so in detail we'll see it at that time. And the fifth milestone is to containerize both the front end and back end. Okay, we'll write Docker files. We'll containerize it using Docker. I'll explain how to do that also. And we'll containerize both the back end and front end. And then in the sixth step, we'll deploy it to Google Cloud Run. Okay, so you can even put this on your resume or something, saying that you created a full stack application, right? So this is going to be a full stack application with front end and back end. Okay, so I was thinking of saying something. Yeah, so if you guys want to, there'll be probably I'll stream parts of this every day except Sunday maybe, because Sunday will be off. Every day evening I'll try to stream this, doing these projects. So please please subscribe, stay subscribed if you are interested in this project. Okay, so let's get started. Are there any questions? Can't hear you. Can you hear me now? I didn't change any setting. I don't know if the mic got disconnected. Still can't hear me. Let me see what's going on. Hello, mic testing. Can you hear me now? Oh, mic testing again. Yes, can hear now. Okay, awesome. Thank you for confirming. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so I'm running dual streams actually, the vertical and the horizontal one. I don't know if my shitty laptop can take care of it. So if there are some issues, bear with it and just drop it in the chat. Okay, so soon we will make this better. I have planning to set up separate streaming system for all this. So okay, so how to start? So the first thing we are going to do is setting up the backend project, right? So what is the backend project? It's a Spring Boot project. So let's scaffold the Spring Boot project. Okay, so for scaffolding a Spring Boot project, you go to start.spring.io. Okay, so this website, start.spring.io. Okay, go to this website and you'll see it's called Spring Initializer. Okay, so in this Spring Initializer, what we do is we create a scaffold of the project. So what is a scaffold? A scaffold is nothing but a container where you can do your coding. Okay, so it gives you all the basic boilerplate needed to run your application. So boilerplate as in the environment needed to run your application. Okay, so here we have to go and then set up pick a few options. So first thing is I'm going to run the project using Maven. Okay, Maven is the build tool. I have chosen Maven. And then the language Java, of course, Java. And then for the version, I'm going to choose the highest stable version. Okay, so if you see, there are these things called snapshots, right? Those are not stable. They are like beta versions, so there might be bugs in them. So I'll pick the highest stable version. There are two stable versions, 3.4 and 3.5. I'll pick the highest stable. Then for metadata, I'll choose my group name as my GitHub repo name. Okay, and for artifact I'll call it task tracker. Okay, and for the name I'll call it task tracker. Okay, backend. Okay, and for the description I'll say backend for the, these are not mandatory. I'll just write it anyway. Okay, and package name, yeah, I'll keep it at as this itself. Okay, com.undershipping.7. Test tracker. Fine. Now we have given the main metadatas. The remaining things are packaging. Do you want a jar or var? difference is jar comes with an embedded Tomcat. Okay, so it will be easier for us to run the application. Var, when we choose var, we have to deploy our own server. We don't need that. Okay, so if you guys need any detailed explanation for any of these properties, just drop it in the chat. Okay, I'll explain it once again. I'm just going quickly over it because it's not very important. So what's the question? Package name, can you change? Simple one. Okay, fine. I'll say change it to Fastorial. Is that fine? Okay, so I'll change it here also, group also to Fastorial. Okay, is that fine? Or should you want me to change the task tracker also to do or something like that? Yes, okay, fine. So I'll change the task name to artifact name to do. Okay, so it just becomes com.fastorial.todo application. Okay, and I'll also change this to do application, and this is the to do app. Okay, those are actually metadata. You can do whatever you want. Okay, and then for Java version, I'll choose 17. Configuration, I'll choose properties. It's easier than YAML, so I'll choose properties. And then for dependencies, since we are going to build a web application, I'll just add the Spring Web dependency. Okay, so if you see here, its description says build web including RESTful applications using Spring MVC. Okay, so you can build web application using this dependency. So I'll add that. Okay, and with that it's enough, and I'll generate the scaffold. Okay, so I'll generate it. Okay, and I'll download it. Okay, so it's going to get downloaded as todo.zip. Save it. Okay, it got downloaded. Now let me extract it. Let me go to my downloads folder, extract it. Okay, and I'll move this to my workspace, Eclipse workspace. Okay, best terminal. Okay, cd codes, cd task. Okay, move downloads, to do's, to do to here. Okay, so I will rename it to Backend. Okay, so my project structure is going to same steps for Windows or Linux too. Yeah, it's the same step for Windows or Linux. You can put it anywhere you want, whatever you downloaded. Okay, and then you have to point it to that. So one thing I changed here is I changed my folder name to backend. Okay, because I in the future when I create front end, I'll put it into a folder called front end. So that is the only change I did. Okay, so when I import it now, you'll understand. So if I go to Spring Boot, in here, you know, in the package explorer section, right click, import, and then in the import window we choose existing Maven project. Okay, under Maven there will be existing Maven project. Click next, and it will ask the root directory of your Maven project. Okay, in that pick browse, and then let me zoom it a bit back. So inside my codes folder there is task tracker project, and inside that I put it inside the backend folder. Okay, so this place where your pom.xml is there, right? You have to choose that and click open. Okay, so once you do that, it will immediately detect your pom file. So this is all specific to STS or Eclipse. Okay, so you pick your pom file and click finish. Okay, this will do the imports. Once the import is done, you have your project ready. Okay, fine. Now what's next? Let me go back to our, you know, this one. So I'll keep this as our main, you know, guide. Okay, this will be the guidebook. So scaffolding is done. Okay, so we have completed scaffolding. You can even try to run the project. If I right click on to do and then go to run as Spring Boot app, it will run the project as well. Okay, okay, it's taking some time. I think the laptop got overloaded. Okay, so you see here on bottom it says started to do application in 2.418 seconds. Okay, so the application is running as well. Fine. So that's it. So with this, we have set up the project and the Spring Boot app is running also. Okay, I'll stop the server. Now I'll go back to our next item. So next item we have to do is entity design. So what is this entity? So an entity is an item in the database that you can represent as a, as an object. Okay, so for example, if I go to this, back to this to do application itself. Okay, so a task is an entity here. So in this, for this task entity, it has multiple properties, like for example, what is the task name, what is the due date, what is the priority of it, should I repeat the task, there are multiple items, is the task done or not, the status of it. So things like this are the properties of the entity. So here task is the entity. Okay, so let's design the task entity. What is an entity? Oh, you're marking highlights, thank you. Fine. So if I scroll down, I have already designed the data model. So for the task entity, there is going to be an ID for the task, title, description, status, priority, due date, created at and updated at. Okay, so this status and priority, you see it's marked as enum. So again, the status will be another enumerator which says whether it is to do, in progress or done. Okay, so there can be only 3 states. It's like a drop down, you can select only one of these 3 states. And priority also we have set predefined 3 priorities. Anything else can be, description you can write anything, title you can write anything, but status and priority are going to be predefined sets, right? That's why they are under the entity data type. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create the task entity. Okay, so how to create an entity? So in what do you say, Java, an entity is nothing but a POJO. Maybe we can add assignee in future enhancement per task. Yeah, we can try that, but we do not have security plan, right? Like login plan. So assignees are not relevant now. When we come to that, we'll do. Okay. Right. So I'll create a new class. Classes are how entities are represented in Java. Okay, so they are called POJOs, which means plain old Java objects. So that is how they are represented. So I'll create a task entity. Okay, or you can simply say task also, that is also fine. Okay, and I'll put it into a package called data. We can call them models. Okay, so models are what entities are. Okay, so inside this model I have a task. Now let me create it. Okay, so the task model is created. Now inside this you have to put all of this stuff, the ID, title, description, everything. Okay, so let me copy this, I'll paste it here. Okay, and I'll just do this. String. Okay, status will be an enumerator, priority will be an enumerator, this will be a timestamp, this is also a timestamp, this is also a timestamp. Okay, for status and priority we need enumerators, right? So I will create an enumerator also for that. What is that? Somebody is putting something. Okay, new, and then there is this enum type, right? So you can do that, click enum, and then I'll also put that also inside the model. Or let's create a separate package for enums. I'll create a package for enum, say that I'll put status. Okay, I'll create a status enum. Oh, you can't do enum inside enum, so I'll call types. Okay, I'll call them as types. Types and enums are like interchangeable. Okay, so I'll call them as types and click finish. And inside status there can be 3 statuses, right? To do, in progress, and done. So I'll create them. I'll put this notepad in the end. Okay, fine. So there are 3 statuses called to do, in progress, done. I'll create one more enum for what is the other one? Priority. Okay, low, medium, high priority. So this is called priority. Okay, finish. And in here I'll paste the priorities. Okay, so now I can go back to task. So in the task, what will I do? I will set priority status as status enum. Okay, and priority as priority enum. Okay, let me import. So when I import, it's asking which import you want. So for status, I'll use the status import. For priority, again, I'll use our Fastorial to do types priority. And for timestamp, I'll use java.sql.timestamp. Okay. Okay, so with that, we have designed our entity. Okay, this also still is the basic, structure of the entity. We still have to do some more. There's no Java date field for it. There is a date field. Let me try it. Yeah, there is a Java util date and there's a Java SQL date, right? Which one do we use? I think usually we use the timestamp, java.sql.timestamp, because that is, compatible with the timestamp data type in databases. So we usually use that only. We need date timestamp if available. Did you write date dot timestamp? I can't see it. It's very small. So this timestamp. So the difference between date and timestamp, according to databases, in database the date timestamp just stores date, like what's today's date, 1, right? It just stores 1 November 2025. It wouldn't store the time along with it, but the timestamp data type store the time also. So we usually need to store the time also, because when you are creating a to do, you also need to know when you are going to be due date. You should also say like tomorrow evening 5 o'clock, something like that, right? Because we are going to persist this in DB, you are using SQL package. Correct. We are going to persist this in DB, and the SQL package is fully compatible with this Java SQL timestamp. So let's say we are using Hibernate, or some database layer, right? JPA. So that will be compatible with this timestamp. Okay. So now we have created the entity, but it's not done yet. So what is missing now is these are all having the protected access mode. The default access modifiers, right? So when you have to create an entity for the database should be able to inject values into this. So the setters and getters need to be exposed out. Okay, so to do that, in Eclipse there is a simple way to do it. You hit Option Shift Z. No, is it Command Shift Z? Is it Control Shift Z? Okay, I don't know. So in Windows, I know the shortcut. In here, I don't know. So you have to go to source menu, and then there is this option called Generate Getters and Setters. Okay, fine. In Windows, if you're on Windows laptop, it is Alt Shift Z. Okay, you will get that pop-up which says Generate Getter and Setters. So in here, there are multiple fields which you have, right? All these fields. So you have to select all these fields and then click Generate. Okay, it will generate all the getters and setters for us. So this is kind of a helper thing that Eclipse gives us. If you are on a different IDE, it will have its own type of generation. Or if you are simply doing on Notepad++, you are very adventurous, you can type this manually. Okay, fine. So with that, we have completed getter and setter. So this is step 2. Now step 3 is, if you have to say to the system, or like to the, I use plain Notepad. Okay, yeah, that's very adventurous of me. Okay, so you have to say to the Spring Boot that this is an entity. Okay, then only it will take this object as an entity and use it in the context in the container. Otherwise, it wouldn't know that. It will simply consider this as one more random class file. So for that, you have to do @entity. I don't know if. Yeah, so you see @entity I'm trying to add, but it's not importing. Okay, entity means something that we store in DB. Yes, so entity is a representation of a DB row. Okay, so if you have a row in DB in a table, right, it is represented as an entity in Java. It's like a one-on-one mapping of that. Okay. Now the problem here is if I try to import entity, it's not working. See, entity cannot be resolved to a type. And if I, do what is it, Control Shift O, it is unable to import because we didn't add the dependency needed for database to work. We just said that this is a web application, right? We have to also add the database related stuff, database starter. Okay, so for that, before that you asked the question, right? At table versus at entity. Good question, and I don't know what's the answer. Let's Google that. At table versus at entity in Spring Boot. Okay, in Spring Boot and JPA, entity and table serve different but related purposes when mapping Java classes to database tables. So core difference is entity marks a Java class as a JPA entity, meaning it should be mapped to a table at the database. If only at entity is present, the name of the table defaults to the class name of the entity. At the rate table, can't hear me. I think the can't hear me is happening because stream is, my software is having some issues. Yeah. You have to just wait, I guess. It will automatically, figure itself out. I'll do one thing. In the, what do you say? I'll keep very basic stuff in it. Okay. So on the vertical screen, I'll just keep the basic stuff so that maybe we can hear something. Hello, mic testing. Still not working, right? Yeah. So you have to go to the mainstream, then there is nothing else to do. Let me put a comment. Please check out the main stream in the pinned comment or pinned chat. Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, this will be sorted out soon, maybe tomorrow. So please bear until then. Fine. So going back, what were we doing? So difference between entity and table, right? So table is used to for customizing how the entity maps to the table. With a table, you can specify the table name, schema, catalog, all of this. So okay, so that's the thing. So if you mark something as entity, you can't say anything extra, right? Like what is the table name or what are the more details about the table. You can't say in @entity. But with @table, apparently you can add all those details. So that's the difference. It's like more useful to, give more details to the thing. For example, your table might be called task table, okay? But then here you want to call your entity as just task, the Java file as just task. So how do you say to this, to this entity or like to the Spring container that my table's name is task table and not just task? So for that, you have to use the @table annotation. Okay, fine. So let's go back to solve this entity error. Let's go back to Spring Initializer, and I'll add a dependency called H2. Okay, so what is H2? H2 is a simple developer database, which is an in-memory database. Okay, so you don't need to go around creating a new database and setting up like PostgreSQL or MySQL and things like that. H2 runs in the RAM of the JVM itself, right? So you don't need anything. So you see here, it's just a 2 MB footprint, but it still works as a database. So because we have something like this, we can use it as a developer thing. Okay, so I will enable h2 database. Okay, so this is h2 database. Now I can't, if I click generate again, it will download again, then I have to import and write all the classes again. Okay, that's like not at all feasible. So what you can do is you can go to explore, and in here it will show you the POM file. Okay, so if you go down, it will have the database thing, right? So this is the database dependency. I think that is not enough. You have to have one more dependency. Okay, let me try this. I'll copy this. I'll go to our POM file. Okay, this is our POM file. I'll go to this, and in here in dependency, right? So you can add anywhere within this dependencies tag. So inside this dependencies tag, you can add anywhere. So I'll add after this last dependency. Okay, and I'll paste it, save it. Okay, let me go back to task, and if I try to import, nope, it still doesn't work. So I think we have to also import one more thing called as data JPA. So you have to go here and add one more dependency called data, this one, Spring Data JPA. So persist data in SQL stores with Java Persistence API. So Java Persistence API is JPA. Okay, so you have to, you mentioned JPA, right, in chat. So that is the correct one. So Spring Data JPA. I'll add this also. Okay, and if I click explore, I'll get the dependency that we need to add for that. So I scroll down. Where is it? Did I go past it? Here it is. So this is the dependency. Okay, this is called Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. Okay, I'll copy this, go to our project, go to POM, and I'll paste it. Okay, you can paste anywhere. Let me paste it and save it. So once I save it, you can see in the bottom right, it's building the project, which means it is fetching all the required libraries and it's trying to build it. Okay, so once the build completes, I should be able to import it. Okay, I don't know why it's taking so much time. Oh, it's still downloading sources and Java doc. Okay, you can see it here. Yeah, everything is done. Okay, and I hit import. Import is Control Shift O in Windows and Command Shift O in Mac. So once I do that, it imported the jakarta.persistence.entity. Okay, this is our annotation. So what are you asking? So easy to add dependency. Yes, that's the beauty of Spring Boot. Spring Boot allows for developers, you can simply add items as you go. You don't need to think a lot. Okay, so you have already, with by adding h2 and this thing, the JPA dependencies, I have made this application work with the DB now. Okay, you don't need to do anything extra. Fine. Okay, so with that done, entity is done, right? There is one more thing left. Okay, so whenever you define a entity in a database, there is one thing you have to remember, which is identifier. So you have to mark a field as @ID. Okay, so it is jakarta.persistence.id, this annotation. Okay, so you have to mark it like this. Okay, so this is so that JPA knows that this is the correct identifier. So whenever someone creates a entry, or when someone looks for an entry, things like that, JPA knows that this ID field is the actual ID. Okay, you can even call this like identifier or something like that, right? So how will JPA know that this is the identifier? So you have to annotate it with @ID. Okay, so just for clarification, this @ID applies only to this first field. Okay, it doesn't apply to anything after that. So all the things written together, it applies only to the first field. Okay, that's how annotations work. Annotation applies only to the next line. So here @entity applies only to this class. Okay, not to anything inside it. I mean, of course, the whole class is marked as entity, but that is how annotations are. Okay, so with that, we have fully completed the entity design. Okay, fine. Now what is next? Let me go back to our guide. So after entity design, we are supposed to do database connection. Okay, so you asked something. So table column name and variable name are same. Yes, So even if you want to change this, for example, here it is, what can I say? Okay, so here it says description, right? But in let's say the database, I want it to be a different name. Like let's say I just want it to be DESC. Okay, so you by default it will take this variable name as the table name. Okay, or yeah, task ID. That's correct. Task description. Oh, that's a very good example. So what you are mentioning is put it as task DESC, or maybe I want to call this as task underscore title, inside the database I might want to call it like that. So if you want to do that, you have to add the @column annotation, and then say name, okay, equal to, and then say task title. Okay, so if you hadn't given this annotation, it will by default take whatever you wrote here in this Java variable. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of like modifications. There are like very more annotations, but we'll just for now leave it at the basics. Okay, so I'll just remove these. So just remember that @column name is the annotation if you want to give a custom name to your column. Okay, so I'll delete this. Okay, so shall I move on to the next thing, database connection? I hope everybody is following on till now. Yes. Okay, so for database connection, we added H2 here already, right? So H2 is going to be a DB. So for people who are not aware of H2, think of it like one more database, relational database, just like PostgreSQL or MySQL. There is Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2 Server, Oracle database. Just like all of these relational databases, H2 is also a relational database, but nobody uses this in production. Okay, this is used mainly only for development, just to simply boot up a very small database, and you can work with it, like do tests or something like that. So even if you want to run unit tests, you can't connect to a DB and then run. I mean, you can, but then that will be very complicated. So it will be simply easier to just run a H2 database and run the queries in there. Okay, so let's build that. So for H2 database, let me go to the documentation because I don't know by heart. Okay, so H2 database setup with Spring Boot, and I want the application property file. So you have to mark it in application.properties. So let me mark it here. So to set up the H2 database in a Spring Boot project using application.properties file, here is a typical configuration template. Okay, so there are so many items here. Okay, so I will pick only the necessary items. Okay, so the first necessary item is this spring.datasource.url property. Okay, so this property says that I am going to use a H2 database and I'm going to make it in memory. Yeah, the data source URL I'm going to make in memory, and then I'm going to call my database as testdb. Okay, so this is the one of the most important one. So I'll copy this. I'll go here to my application.property. So where is application.property? It is going to be inside your src main resources, and then there is application.properties here. Okay, so open that file. It has just one line now. I'll add one more line for data source URL. Okay, will it create testdb or we have to create it? So by default, Spring Boot will try to create the DB. We don't have to create it. So it will look at what all entities are there in our application. Okay, because we marked something as @entity, right? So it will look at it. So when it starts the application, it will look at that @entity and it will try to create that table. If I am right, because I don't remember correctly, it is supposed to do that. If it doesn't do that, I think there's an annotation for that also, this one. So you have this annotation, right? spring.jp.hibernate.ddl auto equal to update. This means that you have to update the schema automatically, which means that it will bring the database forward to what schema we have defined in our class files, like in the entity. Okay, so it will do that for you every time it restarts. Yes, it also does that every time it restarts. So correct, that is one more thing. Hello Anubhav, hi. Okay, So moving on. So first thing we did is we enabled data source URL, right? So what else do we need from here? So we need one more thing. This is the H2 JDBC driver class name. So this says which driver to use. So to Springboot, it says which driver to use. Okay. So I'll go here and I'll paste that also. Okay. Because Springboot should know, should I use the PostgreSQL DB or should I use the MySQL DB or whatever DB, right? So when I say use this r.h2.driver, it is going to use the H2 database. Okay. That was one property. Then something else is the credentials. So what username and password do you want for the database? Okay, so I'll copy this also. This is just basic username password stuff. No explanation needed for that. And I'll copy this also. So as I said, if you want your DB to be created automatically, you need this property, right? The spring.jp.hibernate.ddl auto equal to update. Okay, so I'll paste that also. What else? This is to show SQL statements. I will not leave it. I mean, I'll ignore it for now. And this should be fine. So Divya has asked a question in the chat, right? Every time it restarts, it's going to create a table. The answer for that is yes. And there is going to be one problem with this. That is, when you're working with your application, right, you might have added some to-do tasks. But as soon as you restart the, what do you say, application, the to-do items will be gone. It will be lost because it's creating the DB again. So the DB is lost. So if you read it here, it says it's an in-memory DB. Where did it go? Where did I read it? Here, right? Right. So it is an in-memory database. What does in-memory mean? In-memory means it is in the RAM. So every time you restart, the RAM clears and it gets deleted. All the content get deleted. So there is another way to use H2, that is in file mode. So if you see here, I am running H2 in memory mode, right? I'll change that to file mode. So for that, I'll just ask here, I want to run H2 in file mode for saving the data. Okay. So it will give the respective item. So only that JDBC URL is going to change now. Okay, so you see here it says JDBC H2 and then it changed to file mode, and then it says where to store the file. Okay, so you can store it in like /data mydb. Okay, and then it has some more DB close on exist false and then auto server true. I don't know what those are. But we'll just copy this whole thing. Okay, and I'll replace this in memory with that. Okay, let me enable word wrap. Oh, there's no word wrap. Fine. So I'll just save it. Okay, so you guys saw it there. This is how you start the DB. Okay, so with this, I think all of the H2 properties are done. Let me try to start the application. Okay, don't think this was possible. Didn't think it was possible. Yeah, it is possible. Let me restart. Okay, it says starting and it failed with an error. Let's see what the error is. Let me go up. Oh my god. Application run failed. Entity manager factory defined in the class path resource, unable to create resource, unable to. It's saying dialect without JDBC metadata. Please set jakarta.persistence.jdbc.url for common cases. But I did set it, right? jakarta.persistence.jdbc.url. Okay, I just said spring.datasource.url. So Jakarta is the JPA provider which is there inside Spring Boot. It is unable to read it. So it says either set this JDBC URL or set Hibernate Dialect. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll set Hibernate Dialect. This is the one. So spring.jpa.database platform is equal to this dialect. So I'll take that and I'll paste it here. Okay, hopefully this will run. Let's see. Yep, it started. Hey, it failed again. What is it this time? So it says here unable to open JDBC connection for DDL execution, feature not supported, auto server is equal to true and DB. Okay, So whatever was that extra item it was there, it both are not supported. So I'll just remove those parameters. Okay. So this DB close on exit and auto server is equal to 2 are apparently not supported. So I'll just remove them. I'll just keep JDBC H2 and store it in this file. Okay. Don't forget to set the dialect. Audio is back. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I'll run it again. And it started. Okay. So Tomcat started and the application also started. Okay. Now, how do we know whether the database is initialized properly? Okay, we'll check that also. I'll stop the server. If I go back here, first milestone, yeah, first milestone is done. We'll just finish it with checking the database. Okay, so you see there is this enable H2 console option, right? So what this does is you can actually check what is there in your database using this console. Okay, so I'll copy this and I will enable that also. Okay. So this is only for, dev purpose. Okay. So all the dev purpose flags, I'll keep it in the end. Okay. And let me run it again. Okay. The application started. So let me copy this, go to my browser and go to localhost 8080 and then /h2 console. Okay. So it gives us this console. Right, it gives us this very simple console with which you can connect to the database and check if things are fine. Okay, so there is this driver and all is correct, but this JDBC URL is wrong, right? So I will set that. I'll set, you can copy it from here, from your data source URL in application properties, and I'll paste it here. Okay, let me run test connection. Test is successful. Okay, so let me connect to it and you should see our task table. Okay, so you have your task table with all the items we defined in entity, right? It automatically came. Okay, so with that we have created a database also. We didn't just create a backend application, Spring Boot application, we also initialized the database. Okay, and if you want to, so if I run this query now, there are 0 rows, no rows are there in the DB. Okay, if you want to create rows as well, then that also we can do, like push dummy data into it, but I guess we'll look into that later. Okay, so this was milestone 1. I think we did it pretty fast. So what is the, how long has the stream been running? 50 minutes. Okay, it's almost 1 hour. Let's do it via REST API. Yeah, let's insert data via REST API in milestone 2. Okay, fine. So what else do you guys want to see in milestone 1? Okay, let's complete milestone 1. If you guys have any questions or doubts, just drop it in the chat. Let's do that. Can you please push the code till here to Git? Okay, let me do that. Okay, sorry, so I pushed the code. Sorry, just a second. Okay, so the backend code has been pushed. I got cold, I guess. So the backend code has been pushed, and oh, I shouldn't have pushed the data folder. Let me remove that. Excuse me. Okay, back to the stream. So the data folder shouldn't be persisted. Can you? So I have to remove it. So if you see here, where is my data folder? Here, right? This DB folder is unnecessary for the version control. You need not persist it, right? So what I'll do now is I will mark this as ignored. Okay, to mark it as ignored, you have to create a file called gitignore. I'd rather do it from here. I'll just touch from here. I have to do it inside the CD backend. Touch.gitignore. Okay, so what I did is I created a file here. Let me refresh this. Where did it go? Oh, you can't see it inside the IDE, I guess. Fine, then I will open it in VS Code. Okay, so here you can see gitignore is there. Okay, and gitignore already has some ignoring file. So what gitignore does is, it's already there in GitHub. Yeah, it's already there in GitHub. I just realized it. I tried to create the file again, but yeah, you're right, it's already there in GitHub. The point here is that I have to also mark this data file as done. So how do I do that? I go to or I'll just do here anything that is inside the data folder, right? I ignore it. Okay, so if I do this, then it means that anything that is inside the data folder will be ignored. Okay, but before that, what I have to do is I have to go to Google Chrome and delete this existing folder, delete this directory. Okay, commit it. Okay, and then I'll come back here and I will git status. Hey, why does it still say this? I think I have to just give like this. It still say this. Should I give like star? Wait, I'll do one thing. I'll just add it from here. Add to gitignore. Where is it? Add to gitignore. Okay, and it added this. Why is that folder not being ignored? Oh, it should not start with a slash. Okay, and it should end with the slash. Let's see now. Yeah. Let me delete this other one. This is not needed. Oh my god, it still says this. Let me revert this then. Revert this. Okay, and now let me pull it. Git pull. Okay, the file should be gone. Yeah, the file completely disappeared. Now I'll do git status, and then I'll do git add this, git commit ignore data files. You're saying something? You have to stage git to ignore first, I guess. Yeah, even if I don't stage, once I add it, it should immediately take effect. It's not like after I stage it takes effect. Okay, git push. The problem was that there were changes before I added it to gitignore. That's why. So I had to revert it and pull the new changes from pull the new commits from GitHub, because in GitHub I did the delete, right? I had to pull it. Okay, so yeah, so the first project is done. You guys can pull this and try it out yourself as well. Okay, so you should be able to start a DB and run it. Let me try to run it again after these changes. Okay, and if I go to my console and refresh, connect. Yeah, I have the table. Okay, fine. And if I go back here and see git status, it shouldn't show it. Git status. Yeah, everything is fine, right? Working tricky. Okay, so shall we end this session here? We will do another session for the milestone 2. That would be better if we go video by video. Visit the channel for the full video. Yeah, thank you. Yes, visit the channel for the full video. So the vertical stream that you're seeing will be deleted. It won't be available in the channel. You will instead have the full screen video. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So it's 4:10. Probably we'll have the next stream. What is the next part? Let me go back. Wrong. Oops. Task tracker project. Okay. The next milestone is REST endpoints creation and testing. Okay, that's going to be interesting. So um, we will have that at like 4:30, 4:45. Okay, if I'm available, I'll schedule it. So to see scheduled streams, and if you want to get notification, just subscribe. Okay, only then you'll get the notifications. So yeah, see you guys then. Thank you for joining. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye.